What's happening, people? It's me, Jordan O'Connor, and welcome to this tutorial on how to make a flashing light within Cinema4D. Just to let you know where I got the 3D model from is a website called myminifactory.com/scan the world, and it allows you to go through and look at real world objects that exist in the real world and download the STL file. So in this particular instance, I'm going to be using a model from this particular website. I can't give you the download link to the model because you have to go on here and get it yourself. It would technically be a breach of the creative license if I took the download and then put it on my website and had adverts running from my website. Show your support. You can go and donate to people who you might find a model to be really good. I know I have. So yeah, that's my sort of little shameless plug. So without further ado, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a 3D model which I've downloaded, and I'm not going to necessarily show you guys how to create your own customized user interface, but there's a couple tools I'm going to use to just clean this model up, and that is called PSR, so that's Reset PSR, and the Axis Center. So if you just type in or just hit Shift F12, you'll be able to customize your commands, and then you'll be able to type in stuff which you might not be able to find in my interface. So I'm going to be using my own interface. It's just because it's a lot quicker. I'm used to using my own interface. There's not too much that I'm going to be doing using my interface that's you're not going to be able to keep up with, but those are the two main tools you'll probably need to use. If I jump back to my perspective view, if I just go and show you guys my isometric view, just to kind of put it back in that perspective, you can see that nothing's actually at 0, 0, 0. I've got my model here, which if I go back to my perspective, is sat all the way down here in this little corner. So you can see that if I zoom in, it's all the way down here. Now I need to just quickly go into my Axis Center menu and then just execute that. So now my Axis Center is centered to that object. You can see my coordinates are way out of 0. So if I just bring this slider down to minus 100% on the y-axis, that will align my Axis Center to the bottom of my model, which makes it very easier to ground my models as well. And then I can hit 0, reset PSR, and there we go. I can then hit S on my keyboard, and that will automatically fill my screen with my current selection. So next step we're going to do is quickly add an area light. I'm just going to rotate this 90 degrees that way and just bring it up on that particular axis. I'm just going to double click into my materials and add those as well. And I'm then going to quickly just add a soft shadow and go into my shadow settings and make it 1000 by 1000. So that's a quick lighting setup just to make something very moody for you guys to see where it is we're trying to create. So I'm just going to name this light strobe now. So that's called strobe. And I'm going to go into my user data and I'm going to manage user data and do add group. Now in here, I'm going to type in strobe. And just off the get-go, if I hit enter, you can see I've now got a brand new menu here that I've created by dragging this off. So usually when you add a group, it will make it a child, but I want to drag it off so it has its own complete own tabs which I can go into. The good thing is that if you then bring this into your content browser and bring it into your tool, so I'm going to show you how to do it so you can drag and drop it into your own content browser. You'll be able to reuse this all the time. So if I drag and drop this one that I made earlier and hit play, you can see I've now got this cool strobe light that works excellently. What I'm going to do is if I go into my user data again, manage user data, and go add data, and there's a few fields I need to put in first. So frequency is the first. I've misspelled that so badly, so I'm just going to quickly fix that now. Fingers are really bad at the moment. So frequency, I'm going to change this data so it's a float, that's fine. And I need to make it a float slider, and then I'm going to change it from % to real. It might already be real, but just in case, I'm just going to run you through it just so you guys can know. And I'm going to make the max 100 and the default value will be 0, which is fine. And then I'm going to just right click this and paste it. This one will be called amplitude. That will automatically name the short name as well. I can then paste this and call the second one scale. So this one will be called seed. Now seed can actually be whatever, so I'm going to make take off the limit min and max so it doesn't limit it at all. You can choose to take off the limits of most of them, but I just find that it's good to get a bit of creative control because it can get very temperamental when you're using these sliders as well. I'm just gonna add a couple groups as well here. So this one will just be called light random. And I'm gonna take each of these and just drag them into the light random. I'm gonna add another group, and this one is gonna be called range. And just gonna make this so that's there. And then I'm going to add another bit of data, and this will be limit top. And I'm gonna change this from percent. Actually, yeah, it needs to be percent, which is quite good. And we'll make this 0.5 on the step. And then we'll copy and paste this and call this limit bottom. And we can take off the min and max on these as well. So in short, we've got frequency, amplitude, scale, and amplitude again, which we need to change the seed. That's because I only changed the short name of it. And then range, we've got limit top and limit bottom. So this might not mean anything to you at this point in time, but it will soon be very useful to us in just a moment. So what we have here is we now have this interface we've created. It allows us to be able to tweak different things, but you can see that if we hit play, it doesn't really do anything, which is not very good. So we need to right click this Cinema4D tags Xpresso, and if we right click into here, and we're gonna need two main nodes. So if we go Xpresso general and noise, wherever it is, if it is here, is it here? Yeah, there it is. My eyes are getting really bad somehow. And then we go Xpresso calculate math, and we need one more from math, which is range mapper. So we can stick that one about there, this one about here, and that there. Cool, so I'd say that this is probably in a good position. If I'm just gonna maximize this for you as well, because I don't want us to be focusing on the model just at this moment in time. So I'm going to drag my strobe into here twice. I'm then gonna maximize the left one just like this, and I'm then just going to go into my red arrow and go into the strobe and just elect all of these. So if I go in strobe, light random frequency, strobe, light random scale, strobe, light random seed, and then the same on the bottom end, so strobe, range, limit bottom, and strobe, range, limit top. Wicked. So the next step we need to do is we need to change the math from add to multiply, and we're going to change the second input to 1, which is fine. And then we're going to now plug the amplitude into our noise here by going into noise, frequency, and you can do this just by dragging a little port down at the bottom and hitting that into the frequency. Just going to maximize this out just so we can see it a little easier. There we are. And then we take this into the blue area and hit scale, seed, wicked, which is excellent. So amplitude controls how much contrast there is in this much noise. Frequency controls how frequent their noise is, whether it's a very fine grainy noise or an extremely wide sort of cloudy noise. Scale sort of controls a little bit of that as well, and then you've got seed, which is ultimately then just a randomizer. So if you find that you want to just change the pattern, then you can do that as well. The next thing we need to do is plug this into the first input. So we can see that now when we click our math node, the only thing we've got is input 2, and we've already put the number 1 in there from before. I'm going to click the range mapper, and I want to clamp upper and lower here. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to go take the limit bottom into the blue and say output lower. And I'm going to take the limit top and do output upper, which is good. Just going to maximize this as well, because we then need to take the output of our multiply here, plug it into this input, and then drag the output of our range mapper into our blue section here and go into general intensity. And that's it, we're done more or less. So I can actually close this because we don't need Xpresso anymore, we can forget about it, it's done. Now the good thing is that we've made our Xpresso tag. So now if we go into our interface here, we can see that we have a bunch of different settings here that we can now change. So let's say I don't want to trigger anyone with maybe photosensitivity, so I'm going to keep the frequency down and the scale down, etc. But one thing I want to check is that if I go to the limit top, that basically means that I don't want my light to get any brighter than 120%, and I don't want it to get any darker than 60%. There's more of a fluctuation, but again, I'm not trying to trigger anyone, so I'm trying to keep it very safe. But in a nutshell, that's how you can create a very dynamic flashing light, so that if your supervisor or your client comes back and says it's flashing too often, then you can go into this menu instead of loads of keyframes and having to tweak those. Of course, if you do just want to make it a lot more controlled, then you can do that. But I just find that this is quite good because it allows you to be able to set limits on it, so it will only go past a certain point. It won't get any too bright, it won't get too dark. And it's a lot more of a powerful way to use your lights in your scene. But the good thing is that if I drag in my one a few different times, so now if I pop this one maybe over here, I've then got two different lights, and you can, because the only thing that it needs to worry about is the intensity, you've still got all your settings. So I can still go into here and change this to an area light. I can change the color, and then, because obviously these will be the same light, they're going to be on the same seed, which is the reason why we set up the seed. So if we go into here, we can change the seed so these lights will act independently of each other.